Hey everyone, welcome to the Dad Level Podcast, episode 54. This week I got Matt Moses.
Retro
That's
Ryan.
me. That's me.
Yeah, that's you. And then RetroRyan.
What is up, everybody? Glad to be here.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Matt's son.
He's
The,
trying to
the,
steal the damn show.
yeah, the striking resemblance there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, guys, I just wanted to, have you guys on. We can talk about basically whatever. But, talk about toys, talk about YouTube in general, how our journey's been, gaming, collecting. So, how do you want to? Which topic do you want to kind of go into first?
Go ahead and choose, Ryan.
Well, I mean, for me, to be honest with you, what I do to keep everything interesting is I rotate, man. You know, 1 week I'll be getting some games, and when I get sick of getting games or there's too many in my backlog, I'll pick up some toys. So that's one of my keys to keeping things interesting and fun. Is just rotate so you don't get sick of one or the other.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, there's times you're going to be like, you could go out and collect everything, but that you don't have the fun of finding it all the time, or you may get bored doing one thing or the other.
Or you just happen to find a deal on something and you're like, okay, well, boom, I'm buying that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to postpone this over here and get this.
Well, it's just like the Big Bad Toy Store deal right now for the real Ghostbuster figures from the re-releases from the Kinder line.
Yeah, man, I want to get it so bad.
What's the price on that? You get all four for 30?
Yeah, all four
Yeah.
for 30, and then you can get Slimer and Stave Puff for I think 14 each.
Yeah,
So-
I'm going to get that up if it's still available next week.
Hopefully it is.
Oh.
I get paid Wednesday, so just let me know if you don't get paid in time. I'll pick it up for you and I'll ship it to you.
I get paid on Tuesday.
Okay. There you go.
So I already have those on card and open.
Mm-hmm.
So to get
You
those
got
again,
those. Nice.
even at 30 to get those again would be a little nutty for me. But
Well, think
Get 'em,
about it,
man.
man. Think about it, Ryan. You can never mind. I'm not gonna say it.
yeah, I don't need a third set.
I was saying you could resell them. You could use them as trade bait.
You could
How
slab
dare
them,
you.
man. Get them graded by
How dare
Wada,
you?
and then you could sell them in 30 years.
I don't know about that. Once we're all dead, nobody's gonna care.
I know exactly. I mean, if we don't, and that brings us to a pretty good idea, or something we were discussing earlier before we started recording, was like how I started putting on the Transformers movie, and it's like we have nostalgia for that, and our kids will have nostalgia for that, but the next generation, unless their parents show that to them, they're not going to know. It's going to get lost in obscurity because you think of all these movies from the 30s and stuff and how impactful they were. The silent movies, and we got colored movies and talkies and things like that. So it transitioned, but like you really have to be a film buff to want to watch those movies.
Right. Like a James Wolfe type,
Mhm.
Will the next generation even have toys? I mean, they just want tablets and swiping Candy Crush.
Well,
Feels like
they barely want toys.
which is sad. Where's the imagination?
Yeah, because everybody wants to have tablets. They don't want to actually play something tactile. It's all like what I kind of push on this screen.
Or
I mean,
like
to me,
you
to
go
me,
out
what
in the woods,
friends
you climb some trees, and
to me, what was cool with picking what friend's house you wanted to go to. It's about three things, right? Who's got the coolest toys? Who's got the coolest video games, and who's got good stuff to eat, right?
who's got the
kid-
new system?
As a kid, that's the big three. I call that the big three, right? Because the snacks are important too. Who's got the high C juke boxes? That would be interesting. No, but Ecto Cooler. Who's got the Ecto Cooler? Who's got the popsicles? Who's got the Fritos or the hot dogs, the Kraft mac and cheese? Who's got the food?
Pizza bites or
Yeah.
pizza rolls
Who's
in
got
general.
The cool mom that's gonna
Mhm.
make you the snacks?
Yeah.
I never had that experience. I never ate at any of my friends' houses ever.
Oh, come on, man! You're
Oh yeah,
missing
we
out,
did.
dude.
Yeah.
The
Never
best
did.
thing,
Never
the
did.
best thing is you beat your boys, your friend's house, right? You'd be playing with their toys, playing Super Nintendo or whatever, and then you'd be like, "I'm hungry," and they'd be like, "Yeah, let's get something to eat," and you go raid their little pantry there with the snacks and see what they got. That was a whole part of it, man. Come on now.
The only
Well,
time
you.
I would get fed at a friend's house is if I spent the night.
Wow.
Well, and that's the
That's the
thing about the spending the night and stuff. It's like I remember vaguely one of my first friends I stayed the night at was over there by my grandmother's house, and I woke up and was dead thirsty, and I was like, man, I'm thirsty. I need to get something. I just didn't feel comfortable enough to go walk into their kitchen, grab some water, and then go back to sleep. And
yeah,
you just sit there
yeah.
like you're just tormented because it's like,
Then you wake up and you don't know where the hell you are.
oh yeah, it's the worst too.
Now I just remember everything was just snow. Riding bikes everywhere. Taking the
Yeah,
bikes to the local strip mall or movie theater. Or just that was your car. That was your car before the car. Your bike.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You had your bike and you had your little cassette player and
Yes,
Yep, and
that was how it was.
that was always how it was. Yeah, definitely. You'd be totally like I remember having cassette tape or the Walkman or having a CD player going over to your buddy's
Now you
house.
were you were also other perks of the childhood friend's house was like did they have like a stereo system like on
Mm-hmm.
their TV like in the living room or a side room, or did their dad have like a good sound system or something? Because then you'd want to know like what movies you got. That was the other thing. If you were hanging out there, you look through the VHS collection, see what movies they got on tape. They got like any of the Disney stuff. Do they have like Jurassic Park on VHS? Do they have like funny comedies? Or because that was the thing too. Otherwise, you had to go out and rent some.
Well,
There
that was
was no
bit.
streaming back then.
Well, that was the big part of it. You either had like at my house, my dad had would take VHS tapes and record movies and stuff off of TV with his VCR, or we would
Yep.
Friday night go over to Hollywood Video or Blockbuster, find out what we wanted to rent. We'd go get like pizzas from Little Caesars, the pizza by the foot, and then go back and just play games and watch movies, even if it was just like B movies or anime or whatever. Just have a good night staying up, entertaining ourselves.
Those
so
were the days, man. Those were the days.
Mm-hmm.
speaking of VHS, do you collect, Vince?
I don't particularly collect VHS because I like the higher fidelity, of having a video like on Blu-ray or 4K because I want
Yeah.
that nice definition in the video. Having
Right.
a film like on standard VHS, it just doesn't look great.
I got like this is like recorded TV. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's got commercials in it. Like I bought this on eBay actually.
Oh, just somebody else's recording.
Yeah. They technically on eBay they're like this is for recording purposes only. They're so they don't get sued for selling,
Yes.
I guess what's on it, the movie or the TV show.
Well, and it's a good point you bring that up because if you think about it, those are almost like modern day time capsules because they're a
Exactly.
snippet of time from a bygone era of what was there at this time when this person recorded it.
What's funny is like you'll get like a news clip in there and stuff
Mm-hmm.
telling you
Mhm.
what happened today a little bit, and you're like more at 11 or whatever.
Yeah, depending
Well,
on the location too.
thank God for all those tapes that they survived, because those are the only way I've seen a lot of these toy commercials that I'd never seen back in the day. I mean, toys that I owned that I had never seen the commercial for till now. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, we weren't glued to the TV really.
and that's
I
Yeah.
why I
mean,
like to archive them all. like, because especially the ones that I had, it's hard to. It's kind of like you're going on a scavenger hunt when you're digging them up, when you're trying
Yeah.
to find all the ones of the toys you had, right? So everybody's got that different collection they had that you kind of search out. So I like to put together like the archive of the ones that were most important to me, because everybody's is going to be different. But digging up through the process of scavenging and digging up, it's amazing because there was literally a commercial for every freaking toy line in almost every release. And I
Mhm.
mean, if they didn't have it, so like, GI Joe and stuff, and like Transformers, they, like, a lot of the major releases and the major toys, they would give you an ad for each. Whereas you might have other toy lines where maybe you'd get 1, 2, 3 ads, and they would kind of just give you like 5 figures in each one, right? Like,
Mhm.
but I noticed when I dug up a lot of the He-Man stuff, they were giving you, every playset got a commercial. Every action feature He-Man got its own, like, Thunder Punch He-Man. He got his own. It got his own commercial. So it's amazing the amount of work that went into those toy lines, to the point where almost every figure, depending on the successfulness of each release, got its own ad. Whereas maybe the toy lines that were, let's say something like Bionic 6, that was an animated show
Yep.
that had a toy line. Something like that, I think it only got an ad or two, where they featured the whole villain line in the ad, or the whole hero line, or maybe,
Oh,
they did both.
yeah.
So
Man.
Yeah.
that's interesting too. Uh, but I love stuff like, the He-Man line, where every release you got a different ad, and they're so creative. The sets they would make to film the action figure on. It's like a movie set.
Well, and what was cool about the old He-Man stuff is, like, right when the first line came out, there wasn't a cartoon. Filmation hadn't had a chance to put it together, so you had these comics that were done by DC that came with each figure that kind of told the storyline for these figures until the cartoon was created. Um, Same thing with like GI Joe. Uh, there was the comic, and what they would do was they would do like these animated stills of the comic to advertise the comic, and that was also what was used to tell like to sell the toys. And then when the cartoon came out, it was like, okay, that's the commercial for this, even though it was written by Marvel Comics. It was a pretty good storytelling for at the time what it was. So
Matt, I'd love to see. So, I'd love to see you hold up some of these Darkwing Duck toys mint on card, because one thing that, I don't think I've ever talked about either on the retroactive trio, or with Vince about, even though we've talked a lot of toys,
mhm.
is the importance of their action features. Like, okay, what I mean is, like, your Darkwing Duck toys, like maybe one will swing his hat,
Yeah,
or maybe
yeah.
one will have his arm pop up. But this was a big gimmick, or but also cool thing that we had with our toy lines as a kid. They always had some kind of action
Yeah, like
feature.
yeah, like what was the He-Man figures? You could squeeze the legs together and it would swing around
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah,
Oh, I think you're thinking of it's like a superpowers. Was it Kenner's
I
superpowers?
think Kenner's did that, and then yeah, because both the DC Secret and then the Secret War stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, Super Friends and this the yeah.
I know specifically the Superman did that. You squeeze his legs, and he did the kind of like he's almost jogging.
Hmm.
His fists went up.
Yeah, he would do like this.
But but yeah, Matt, like, hold up one of these Darkwing Ducks, and like, does it
Okay.
say
All
like the
right.
action feature
Yes,
on
it
it?
does.
Does it describes that, right?
It's gonna be backwards because I'm using my other camera, my front-facing camera on my phone, but it's got it says that if you push the button on his back here, his hair will sprout.
That's cool.
It's the Bushroot character there.
Hmm.
See, there's eight figures in this line. I've only got four of them, but I've been trying. You
They'd
know,
call that an aid back then,
you
Yeah.
know, money don't grow on trees, right?
now the real Ghostbusters. used a lot of that, like for the fright features.
Mm-hmm.
They did that kind of thing too, where the mouth would jump open like they're scared from a ghost, or it was very big during, especially in the 90s. I noticed,
Here, let me
you get the action features.
get this one. This toy would never be sold today. You know why?
The electrical feature on him.
Because
Yeah,
he sparks like a lighter.
Oh, he sparks. Oh yeah, awesome.
awesome.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
Megavolt.
like sparks in the middle of his chest there will shoot out sparks. Like that's insane. That's
Mm-hmm.
insane.
Well, it was never enough to like actually really start a fire. So,
Yeah,
Well, if there was some gasoline, maybe.
maybe, maybe.
there was actually a toy series that I have
I
that
guess these all
predates.
have actions. His head spins around.
That's cool.
You got the Darkwing. Uh, his hat
Yeah,
spins.
the hat spins, right? I remember that.
Look at it. I got it for $4. Yeah, right. That
In your time machine, right? Your DeLorean. Yeah.
I wish I had.
So another toy line that came around right about when He-Man started was called Black Star,
Mm-hmm.
and some of the toys also had that feature, Matt, or the spark feature, and it
Yeah.
would light up. So, like the main character in Black Star had this medallion that's kind of translucent in his chest, and as you would flick the lighter part, it would spark in its chest, like it's kind of lighting up. So,
Here's another toy like that. My sister had a Barbie that had roller skates, and when you scooted it on the floor, it would spark like that too.
Well, you had cops that had the cap, the pop caps.
yeah,
And then same thing with the
RoboCop,
RoboCop figures. Yep.
There he
Ultra
is.
Police. There we go. And
It just
showing its
happened to be
back how that
sitting
worked, Matt. So show how you would show the back of that for a second. So
there's
now you would
11.
open up the. Does it let you open up the backpack there and where you put the caps in?
That's what you would call the hammer, you know,
Yep.
Yeah.
to slam into the cap.
And it would smoke too. I can remember that smoke smell from the
Yep.
cap.
That
You
sulfur smell, man.
Yeah.
pull up on it and pull the back down, and you just slide the, caps back then came on paper.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it.
I did too. I would.
I was
I
always
wonder.
running out of the caps,
I wonder if they still
firing it
sell
too
them.
much.
I think you can still find them sometimes at like a dollar store and stuff like that. I think I've seen them.
That was a cool feature of this figure too.
Yep. Peter
Yeah.
Weller.
I don't have the gun for him though, which is the downer.
I love the car. I have the car for that.
Yeah, I got the
Remember
car.
like the vac metal,
Mm-hmm.
the blue vac metal?
Yep.
You want to see it? Want to see it? I got it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Grab it.
bust the car out, Matt.
Yeah. That's all. That metallic chrome.
Does yours have the missile launcher too on top, or yours is missing that? Mine is too.
I got this on eBay, so
Mine's
it's
missing the damn. It's always missing the damn missile launcher, man.
my original from a kid. Who knows where it went. And of course, we got a
Bobby Drake, Iceman. Mm-hmm.
Iceman driving it for some reason. I don't know.
So, and then that was another funny thing, right? Because we were getting toy lines from Rated R Films, just like we were
Yeah.
getting NES games that were based on Rated R movies.
Right after Terminator 2 came out, we got all those action figures and stuff from Kenner.
Uh-huh.
And I used to have I had a bunch of it. I even had, I think, the car or whatever he had, or either the car or the motorcycle. I can't remember which one it was.
Do you remember the Flesh Regeneration T2?
I used to have that.
That's so cool, and it'll put the skin barrier on, so that you can. It's like you can have the character fight and see the endoskeleton
You
underneath
have
the
battle
flesh.
damaged. Yeah. What was
Yeah.
great was because my dad was like, okay. So when I got that, I ended up getting at a KB Toys outlet store, and he wouldn't let me mix the powder. So I was like, I had to use Play-Doh, but it worked. You just put the Play-Doh in, mold it, or close it and stuff, and it would just mold around it. You'd have this like Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator sculpted red Play-Doh.
I could still smell the Play-Doh. You know that
Hmm.
Play-Doh smell.
Well, I see Play-Doh all the time
Yeah, I do
myself.
too. Yeah, with my son as well. But yeah, no, there was just such a great toys selection back then. I mean, going into Toys R
Yeah,
Us and just seeing aisles upon aisles of just figures. I mean, you had like at least 6 aisles, and that's front and back that would be dedicated to boys' toys. You'd
yeah.
have just sections of Transformers or GI Joes or Hot Wheels and Terminator and all this other stuff, and it was really cool just getting to see like all the different toy lines that come in. But
Dude, we were really lucky and fortunate
mhm.
to go through the golden age without question of the best toys ever made. And not only that, to the timing that by the time we were old enough to kind of maybe grow out of it, like by 13 or 14, in my opinion, the quality of the toys went down. I mean, in one aspect, maybe there was more realism. Like, okay, it's starting to be the McFarlane era where you got
Yes.
really cool likeness, but at the same time, you can't really play with those toys,
Well,
and most toy
they only had like
collectors,
4 or 5 points of articulation. Just the
yeah,
wrist, the arms went up like this, and the legs did the same thing, and the head.
right. So we really, as kids born in the early '80s or maybe late '70s even, we really were able to dive in, like, from Kenner Star Wars up until, like, the McFarlane era, and have
Hmm.
the best of the best through the '80s and '90s with those lines. Really,
You guys see that?
really,
Those are
really
the
fortunate.
Yep. Those are the reissues, right?
This is original. This is the reissue.
Oh, nice. Is that the squishy head version
Yeah,
or the
this is
original?
original. This is original. Leo. They're both Leo.
Hmm.
Soft head.
Yep.
It's
Can you
unpunched
compare
too.
the card?
The only
Can you
one I
compare
got.
the card backs, Matt? How are the card backs different on the backside?
They're definitely different.
Yeah, the file
Yep. So
card.
You can see the
the
green on this one is like a, I don't know. They're different color greens for sure. I don't know if
Yeah,
it
it's
picks.
more darker on the Nickelodeon release than it is the original.
You see the Nickelodeon there.
Hmm.
I'm glad they did that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's.
so the
Go
other
ahead,
thing
Mike.
about the '90s is that neon era, right? Like, everything was just beautiful neons. The colors popped in toy lines from Toxic Crusaders to Bucky O'Hare.
Hmm.
When you would walk down the aisles, you would just see gorgeous neon colors on everything. It was just so bright, colorful, and fun. I miss that era too.
We think about
Of
like
just
this.
fun colors.
Yeah, and you think about the stickers, right? From like Toys R Us. It was that neon
Mhm.
orange, so like it really popped on your figure boxes.
Yeah.
I,
Well, I
I
mean, I'm
love,
telling
like,
you, these
the
colors
puffy
pop too for
stickers.
me.
I,
That's
I
what I
used to love the
remember.
puffy stickers back in the day,
Oh yeah,
Puffy.
yeah, those were pretty cool.
and the prism stickers.
Hmm.
At the vending machines, come with a little cardboard. They pop out, and then you have like a cool prism holographic sticker.
Yeah, what was it? There was the stencil one. No, no, was it the ones that you would bake? You would cut them out, and they were hard plastic, and you would bake them, and they would become like really hard, shrink down, and you would be able to put them on little standees. They were I can't remember what they were called.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, those are cool.
I don't
So
remember.
many things. It's just, you go back. We go back in. So I was just completely mind blown when we did on Retroactive Tree, when we went through all of the cartoons on all of those stations. It was just so many. I mean, like a couple hundred. And to think about, like the quality of them all, and they were churning these out hand-drawn cell animation shows. They corresponded with these toy lines back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we had the golden age of that. We had the gold on top of the golden age of that. We had the golden age of Disney movies. We had Lion King, we had Aladdin, even Little Mermaid. I mean, that was some of the best stuff they ever put out to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the Little Mermaid, my 4-year-old, she will not watch it. It scares her to death. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
It is pretty traumatizing, honestly.
Oh yeah, there's like some really dark animation in that. You think about like when Ariel first meets Ursula and stuff, and then the two eels she has, and then right, like even at the end, when Ursula like grows giant and.
I mean, damn, we've seen Mufasa die. Look at all the stuff we've seen in these movies.
I know that was totally peak Universal too in the 80s, 90s. I mean, because I can remember, lucky I lived in Florida a couple years through that I was able to see, at Universal Studios when it was just back to back the best rides there. They were movie based. Unlike today, it's just roller coasters. It might as well be Six Flags Universal Studios today. But then it was like, Jaws the ride, Back to the Future the ride. It had King Kong in its full glory. E.T. That's one of the few that's still there, I think. But just the golden age of those rides at the theme parks.
Did you say Simpsons?
Simpsons might have been there too. I think that was the sit down one where it's like the motion ride. You kind of move in the seat.
I mean, I never went there or anything.
I didn't either.
I know it was a thing.
I think they call that like a 4D ride. So you would sit in the seat. It's like on a movable base. So it would like feel like you're in a vehicle, but you're watching a screen, and there would be like smells and things like they'd spray at you like water. So they call that like 4D or something funny like that. It's like a kind of a weird time for those kind of things.
Yeah, because it's hitting you on almost all four senses.
All your senses.
All your senses, yeah. So.
I swear, I think they had an Alien one, man, where like they hit the lights. I don't know where was that? It must have been Universal. Did Universal have Alien? Yeah. Well, because okay.
Well, it was 20th Century Fox, I believe, that had Alien.
Okay, so we walked in to this room, and they had the aliens like in the pods, in the glass pods, and then like the lights started, flickering, and just stuff was going down, and then they busted open, and then they had it so you felt like the alien was right behind you breathing. They had some kind of air thing, so that everybody in each seat felt like the alien was right behind you. It was actually scary as hell being there as a kid.
And that's definitely a missed opportunity. There's certain films that I think would translate really well to some kind of ride. And I don't know if it was just not translated right, or they just couldn't think of some kind of creative idea, the way to do it. Because you think about like the 3D Terminator 2 experience ride, and it actually had, Arnold come back and Eddie Furlong, and they were in the future. It was kind of like a companion piece to the second movie.
I'd like to see some footage on that.
It's really cool video. It's really cool. You can find it on YouTube. I'll find it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Because the whole cast was in the thing. They would live action thing. I think it was weird because it was like, okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm remembering bits and pieces of this, but they'd have the movie playing with Schwarzenegger and with all the cast members, but then they'd have people dressed as them like on the live set.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying, Matt? So you'd get both. You'd get like this what felt like unreleased Terminator movie to accompany the actual movie, and they'd be acting out like live stunts and stuff in the outfits. People there, cast trying to look
cool.
like.
That would be cool. The only thing I have that was around here where I live is Kings Island. If you guys ever heard of Kings Island? Paramount's Kings Island.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that.
I'm not familiar with it either. But
they have movie themed. It's not called Paramount anymore. They got rid of all the movie title names, but a lot of the rides are still there. Like they had a Top Gun, they had Face Off, I mean, all kinds
You know
of
what?
Tomb Raider.
I'm such a movie nerd, and I know this chain bombed. I think Stallone had something to do with it, right? But Planet Hollywood, I remember like digging all the movie memorabilia in there, man. I loved it. I loved like seeing all the movie props and stuff. Who else was that? Was that something that Schwarzenegger and Stallone had something to do with? Was Bruce Willis involved too? Just
I
all
don't
these
remember.
action
It's been a
stars.
yeah. It was a bunch of action stars. I just don't remember. But there was yeah. It was like all this memorabilia you could get or like replicas of stuff and.
I know part of why it bombed because the food was horrendous,
Mhm.
but like, but the memorabilia was really cool there.
Well, you
It's
you think about like what the Hard Rock Cafe. I mean, I think was another
yeah,
byproduct of that, and that actually took off versus like how Planet
right,
it didn't. So
I like the Hard Rock Cafe myself. I do.
yeah.
yeah.
They got good burgers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I mean. I think that's the difference. Is it's maybe uh rock and roll is a little less niche than just movie memorabilia in a place, combined with the fact that maybe they had better food than Planet Hollywood did, or something wasn't. I'd like to watch a documentary on what went wrong with Planet Hollywood, but the idea itself was a good one.
Pulled a Nerf gun on me.
Yeah, he did. I'm like, my son has the exact Nerf gun too.
Is it the little one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
um, and it's funny because like we didn't really have what was it? We didn't have any kind of like we had Astroworld and Splashtown. We had like the theme parks, but they weren't like actually like themed like going to Universal or Disney. The closest we had to something like that is in San Antonio. There's a wax museum with all the different Hollywood actors and stuff, and that was always fun to go to.
I was always bummed that I didn't get to see Nickelodeon Studios in its heyday because
Mm-hmm.
all those amazing game shows they had, Hidden Temple, Double Dare,
Yep.
um, you know, just and it looked like just a blast. Like you could go there and see the shows being taped live on set.
It was definitely a different
So
time back then
yeah,
because they
and
used to
they'd
do
always
those
be
casting
doing
calls. If you were in
yeah.
the
You would
area,
watch
come join in the show.
right, and you would watch Nickelodeon while you'd be watching, Ren and Stimpy or Rocco's Modern Life or Doug or something or Clarissa Explains It All. You'd be watching that, and they'd be like doing all these giveaways for stuff, like and like you could win tickets to Universal Studios or
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it was really a cool time to I just wish I would have, and I think that was actually part of Universal Studios, right? Was like Nickelodeon
I
Studios was
believe
part of
so.
that.
I believe so. At the time, it was. I think so.
So yeah, again, like just what an amazing time for that theme park back then.
When you think that we got the Super Mario theme park coming within a couple of years,
That should be cool.
yeah. I'd love to go to the one in Japan. I've watched quite a few videos of that.
Yeah,
My wife's like, we gotta go. We gotta go see this. It's like, we will, baby. Just give us some time. But when the one happens here, we're definitely gonna go there. Probably when it opens.
so that was kind of a teaser for what kind of we're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to what we're gonna get, right?
Yep. And I'm hoping that we're gonna get other themes besides just Mario. It'd be kind of cool to get like an area where it's like Link and Zelda and stuff like that, or Metroid.
Dude, there should be a Mario. Is it gonna be like a
Yeah.
Mario ride? Because there should be, man.
There'll be a Hyrule. There's gonna be a DK.
Yep.
Mario would make a really cool roller coaster. Maybe like you got Bowser at the end, kind of like
There's
a boss.
I think there's
Yeah.
like 3 rides at the one in Japan. It's been a
Okay,
while since I've looked at it, but
there
man,
should be.
it's just really cool.
How cool would they don't have Rare anymore, but how cool would like a Donkey Kong ride kind of be like through the jungle? Oh, that would have been epic. Man,
Yeah,
they have
Hell
so much
yeah.
potential that they haven't even tapped into for that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I remember, if I remember correctly, at one point there was a Resident Evil theme park in Japan as well. I think it was short lived, but that would have been cool if we would have got something like that. Being able to go through like Raccoon City or sets from the Resident Evil games in a real life setting, that'd be pretty cool. But I just don't think
Yeah. Well, that was interesting.
yeah, Yeah. Well, we have those like what is it? Those zombie runs where you kind of play like you're going through this whole like area,
Oh,
and
oh,
there's people playing zombies, and you have like two different tags on the sides of your legs. So like there's your hit points. So if you lose both of those, you're out. So that's how you get like you act like you're attacked. But my sister did that. It was pretty fun from what she told me.
they did like a zombie walk here a couple years ago.
Hmm.
Like they just walk around the town, the city or whatever. Well, it's not a city, it's a town, but
Yeah, it's one of the things I love about like with Halloween coming up pretty soon. I mean, October, so the month of all horror stuff. Being able to have like all the the scary places to go, and all the watching all the horror movies, haunted
right.
houses.
Have you ever seen these, Vince?
Yes, the Power Rangers spinners. Yeah.
Fin fighters?
Hmm. Like the earlier days of Beyblade, before Beyblade.
Man, I'll tell you what. That first season, when that first season Power Rangers came out, and the toys, and the song, and the hype.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Ryan.
The hype was real.
We're the same age, dude. You would get made fun of if you liked Power Rangers.
Not really. See, I don't remember it like that. I remember it was hot at first, though.
That was a
Maybe
thing
it,
in my school.
maybe it cooled. Maybe it cooled down. But like when I was like 10 or 11, that was hot. That was hot in the streets. Power Rangers.
When that
And
first two seasons of that show came out,
yes,
like a lot of the kids, even some of the girls, loved that show. And my
yeah,
sister was three
But
years
you
younger
know,
than me, was all into it too, and I was like, I watched the Japanese version. I can't get into this with these American actors with their BS
oh,
drama.
yeah. But you know what, man? It was like okay. It was like Saved by the Bell to the extent that they used the same set.
True, very true, very true.
So that's why it had that feel. Like if you
really,
like Saved by the Bell and you like kind of action kung fu, kind of like kaiju monster stuff, it was like those worlds collided and you got the a little of each, and that's what I love about it.
Mm,
it was so cool. But after that, like, you're right. After the second season, I'm done. I'm not watching
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
else.
when
it got too stupid, and they some of the original characters left.
I think like
I don't.
right after they did the movie and they did the I think 2 seasons after that with the new cast, when Johnny Young Bosch came in and played the Black Ranger, uh, I think that was still popular at the time. It was when they started transitioning to the other Power Rangers, Turbo Force or whatever, and it's like that stuff. Like I just saw people completely move out of it. And then some of
Yeah,
my friends were like, "Oh man, this is awesome! It's more Power Rangers." I always loved the part when it just would like start where the Zoids would all come together,
Well,
and they would like it was all stop motion or whatever, and it would just all come together and they form the Megazord and stuff. And I was like, yes, that's awesome. And then it became a guy in a suit. I'm like, no, this is not cool.
yeah, it's just some dude.
Even though I
Jeff
love
Carter.
Godzilla, yeah,
We could make that ourselves.
yeah, exactly.
well,
There's a project.
every show jumps the shark. It's just a matter of when.
Hmm.
And when they lose sight of when they start to run out of plot lines to do, and when they lose sight of what originally made the show good, and when they replace too many cast members and the writing's on the wall, I mean it's over.
Now, hold
That's
up,
just true
Vince.
with any show.
Vince, you've been to conventions, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Have you met Jason David Frank?
Yeah, I have. You're talking about the Green Ranger, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and white, and red, and black.
Is he a nice
And
guy?
his new, he seemed pretty cool from the time I've met him. There was so there. He's actually been to a couple cons down here, and because I think he's from Austin, or is located in Austin, I believe. But he was down here back in like 2017, I think, when there was a convention in Galveston. It was a big like Power Ranger convention and Game of Thrones. So Jason Momoa was there, a couple of other cast members from Game of Thrones, and then there was a couple other Power Rangers there, and Jason was there. So it was pretty cool to get to meet him. But I mean,
I just hope that
go ahead.
I hope we'll have this because we're having a retro renaissance explosion right now. Obviously, that NECA's playing a big part in, and even Kenner's reviving a lot of stuff. But I just wish we could add new properties to the
Yes. Or
instead of just a rehash. I
correct.
wish we were adding new because that's what made our era great was new properties all the time. Like that wasn't a rehash. We weren't like rehashing the 70s and the 80s, and we weren't rehashing the 80s and the 90s. It was new shit.
Hmm. Well, at least it was either it was new shit or it was taking old shit and putting a new spin on it. So it wasn't like you think of
Yeah.
like GI Joe. My dad had the 12-inch GI Joes, but when we had the 3.75 or the 3 point whatever size GI Joe figures, and that was a whole new storyline versus Action Man back in the day.
They had the Barbies.
Yeah, they had the Barbies. Yeah. So, and speaking of the fact of like you think of NECA with everything they're doing, like you got Brock's from Gargoyles, and these Gargoyle figures are great.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So he comes with extra wings for Goliath, so he has that whole like his wings are draped over him.
What they nailed with what NECA is nailing is say like Playmates Turtles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which were absolutely phenomenal for what they were. But sometimes even like some of the best toy lines like He-Man and Turtles, sometimes you didn't get spot on likeness with the
No.
characters on the
Mm-mm.
show. So what they're really doing is making dreams come true of a lot of the fans of these properties by giving the true to form exact likeness as they were on the show, as they were meant to be, not close, spot on. Whereas we were getting it just close back in the day. It wasn't really, you know,
Mm-hmm.
exact what we were seeing.
I mean,
So that's really cool.
so think about it. Like, I'm a big Back to the Future fan. I was. Most of us are big Back to the Future fans. But how many
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
times
definitely.
did you ever think that you'd be able to get a Griff figure that actually looks like?
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, that is just amazing. I mean, that's stuff we never had. I would have loved to have that
Getting
back.
both versions of Marty,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you got uh, him and
from
from.
1 and 2.
Mm-hmm. So I'm can't wait for 3 when they start doing those figures.
Oh man, 3 might be my favorite one.
Like just having like Clint Eastwood, Marty.
Come on, which one's your favorite, Vince?
The first one. I love 2 and 3 because they were filmed back to back. Um, but for some reason that first movie just had all the magic. Like it was just one of those things because I was
Oh yeah.
four when it came out.
Oh no, two, like one is the perfect movie, but for me, two is a little funner with the sets, and I like how it's
Yes,
darker. It's like it's kind of the dark side,
yeah,
the
because
second half of it.
you get to see this bright future, and then you get to see the darkness of it, and then you know the problem with playing with time travel, how it can completely
Exactly.
mess up the past.
Yeah.
Um, so it was really cool because it was one movie that we got to see the past, present, and future all in one movie. Whereas the first one was the past and the present, and then the third movie was far past in the present. So yeah, it's definitely a trilogy that I love. It's probably one of my favorite trilogies besides the original Star Wars trilogy and the Matrix. Um, and those would be my top 3.
No, they hit it out of the park. Like when you have things that are so iconic, like you just see the DeLorean,
Mm-hmm.
and iconic. You see the hoverboard, iconic.
Oh
You
yeah.
see Marty's fucking outfit from the second one, iconic. Like these are like like when you have a movie like that's such a cult following, you see the Cafe 80s, iconic.
Well,
Like
Matt's
just
got the
everything
hat,
about it.
right, Matt? You still have the
Right
hat
over,
over there. Yeah.
just right over there,
Well, yeah,
right
like most movies, okay, most movies, they can only hope to have like one iconic thing, right?
Oh yeah.
And there's so many iconic things about that trilogy
Right,
that
you're right.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, and it makes
Okay,
you.
like as much as we love They Live. Okay, I love it so much. I love Roddy Piper, right? But it's got the one tagline, "Kick ass, chew bubblegum," right? You know, you could argue there's more in there, but okay, that's like Back to the Future 2. It's like this is a baby's toy. Like there's so many lines. Like you're my density, you're my destiny. Like there's so many lines. Like you could like write a page full of them from the Back to the Future trilogy. Whereas so many movies hope to have just one line. There's just so much that's why it'll always be one of the best. There's so many memorable moments.
Well, you can watch it over and over and over and
Yes.
over and over.
Yeah.
Exactly. And one of the things about that movie, what makes that trilogy so great, is the characters. If the
Yeah.
characters weren't there, it wouldn't have been as good as it was what we got. And you think about the fact that we almost had Eric Stoltz playing Marty instead
Right.
of Michael J. Fox, and the way he played Marty would have been a total different movie. You know,
Oh yeah.
What
and,
else?
and I think that the ending of the movie would have been totally different. And a lot of that has to do, you think about the fact that like the big falling out between what's his name, his dad.
Michael J. Fox just has an energy and an enthusiasm that Eric Stoltz doesn't have.
Mm-hmm.
George
Eric Stoltz is
McFly.
good.
Well, I
Eric
know George
Stoltz is
McFly, but
good.
I'm trying to remember the actor. For some reason, my brain's not here.
Okay,
Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover, yeah. So you think about
Eric Stoltz is more like the angsty. Did you ever see him in Did you ever see Eric Stoltz in his best movie to me is oh god the one with the other one with Leah Thompson where she's like the pretty girl in the school. Oh man, how am I blanking on that movie?
because the only two movies right now I can think of at the moment with him that are fit perfectly that I feel that he was great in was Mask for one, but really The Fly too. I thought his character in that was really good. But I'm trying to remember what movie he was in that had him and Leah Thompson in it. I can't think of it at the moment.
Yeah, I gotta look it up because it was really good. It was John Hughes had something to do with it too.
Yeah. Um, and I just want to. I'd love to see that cut of the film. How far they got, and what it would have been like.
Okay, it's called
Aristotle.
some kind of wonderful.
Some kind of one.
Where
Okay.
he's
Yep.
kind of it's kind of like a reverse Pretty in Pink. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so instead of like the girl choosing between Ducky and the cooler kid in school, it's like Eric Stoltz. He's an artist type in the school, and he's picking between a tomboy chick and the sexy Leah Thompson, who's kind of like the prep rich girl, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it really is kind of like a reverse Pretty in Pink, with a male star instead of a female star, who Molly Ringwald was in that.
Oh yeah.
But what the movie shows is that Eric Stoltz is a very good, sensitive, angsty, guy yearning for something. Whereas like Michael J. Fox has that energy and enthusiasm, and he just brings that comedic. Eric Stoltz doesn't have the comedic timing that Michael J.
No.
Fox has.
And you think about the charisma that is just
Yeah.
emanating from Michael J. Fox compared to like Eric Stoltz. Eric Stoltz like brings this whole like he could play a great character for a drama, whereas you think
Right.
about everything that Michael J. Fox has worked on has been just gold. I mean, he brings this otherworldly like level to his characters. Hell, even the movie I just recently watched with it had Gary Oldman in it. I think it's like Route 66 or something or Route something. Let me look it up real quick.
He went on a legendary run too. I mean, Michael J. Fox. I love even his underrated stuff like Secret of My Success, Bright Lights, Big City.
Mm-hmm.
His like New York movies. are criminally underrated. Anybody that's a Michael J. Fox fan, those are must sees.
Never seen any of those.
Oh, they're really good.
Basically, in Secret of My Success, Matt, he plays a kid, from a farm, fresh out of college, wants to prove himself in New York City, starts from the total bottom. Nobody will hire him. They're telling him he's too qualified. He starts in the mailroom. He kind of fakes his way up the corporate ladder. It's kind of like a romance flick too. He's going after this girl that's high up. But really funny. But yeah, just classic '80s movie, '80s style comedy.
Okay, so
And then Bright.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'll tell you after you're done.
Oh, then I was just gonna say then, Bright Lights, Big City. Uh, he plays a struggling writer who's got a cocaine addiction, based on a book. He does a really good job in that, actually taking a dramatic turn. Um, Believe it or not, Phoebe Cates has a role in that as his ex girlfriend, who's a famous model, and his best friend is Kiefer Sutherland. So I mean, noting that, like, that's a stacked cast. That's another one that's underrated,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. I've rewatched both those movies a ton. Yeah, he is. Michael J. Fox has a lot of movies that aren't even Doc Hollywood, man. Like, those movies don't really get the praise they deserve. They're kind of like these forgotten rentals from back in the day that people would maybe watch once and never talk about again. But
Well,
Yeah.
another one I would add to that thing would be Frighteners, because Frighteners was a great movie that
yeah,
set up this world that would have been fantastic, had Michael J. Fox been able to do a sequel to it, because it left it open that you could have had this character going through these different horror things with his being able to see dead people. But the movie I was thinking about was called Interstate 60. It
never.
has James Marsden, Gary Oldman, Kurt Russell's in it. Um, who else? There's Michael J. Fox, and the reason why I said that is because like Michael J. Fox plays this business guy that. So basically, Gary Oldman's character, he's like he's this guy that gives people wishes, one wish, and he likes to play mischief on people. So he's kind of like an American leprechaun. Um, and when Michael J. Fox comes up across, I mean, it's just funny what happens with him, just in how like he makes a wish, it gets him killed. But he's just a brief little cameo in the movie, and it's really good. Just seeing Michael J. Fox at that time with the movie, because
I
he's not
want to
even
see.
because he's not even the main character. He's just like some dude that just happens to be a businessman being uh, late going to some business meeting, gets water dumped on him by a car passing by, and ends up meeting Gary Oldman's character. And he's like, "I wish this never happened. Are you sure about that? Okay." And then, of course, the same thing happens, but then he gets hit by a car, and it's just funny.
That's why you don't fuck with genies.
Yeah, no, exactly. You don't. But I'll send you guys a trailer. It's a pretty good movie.
I don't know if you ever seen that Twilight Zone episode with the genie.
I might
He's in
have.
like he's in like a pawn shop or something, and everything they wish for, just of course, it's going to destroy everything.
Yeah. Um, but no, there's definitely like some great movies that we don't even talk about that I'd love to be able to just kind of like mention, or because they don't get enough love, or there's things I find I've never seen. I'm like, holy crap! I watch it. It's really good, especially with like the cast and everything.
I like to go back sometimes and watch, those old black and white movies from like what 50s, 60s,
Turner Classic Movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stuff like that. It's like interesting to see,
Um,
how their life was like, basically,
sure. Dude, before I could tell you,
the humor.
It's
I
very
could
different.
tell you how I used to do it before the internet, and I'd have these books. They would just have every movie review in them, and what I liked was in the back, you could look up by actor every movie they're in. So I would like go to like like Nicholson and be like, man, Nicholson is like the best, dude. Let me see. I want to see every freaking. I want to rent every freaking good Nicholson movie that I've missed. So I'd like go down the list and be like, what have I not seen yet? And I would do that with like every actor I like. Like I'd be like, like Rob Lowe or like James Spader or something. Like let me see some of the movies they've missed because I know these guys are always good. Let me look up like Mickey Rourke. I'd see all these Mickey Rourke movies. They're always good. Let me catch what I haven't seen. Even like actors that I knew might be hit or miss. I might see something stupid. Like I'd look up like Corey Feldman or something or Corey Haim. Maybe some would be terrible and some would be good, but I want to see it all. That was the way I did it before the internet, before IMDb. I would look through these books and I would make a list and like be like I would either call up the rental store or like bring it and like see if I could find any of these movies. I would literally call around sometimes. I'll be like, "Do you have this movie? Do you have this weird Corey Feldman movie, man?" They'd be like, "No, we don't have that." Just kind of call around, see who's got it. That's like what you had to do back then.
Well, that was what was great. Is like you had TV Guide to look to see what movies were coming out on HBO or whatever Showtime, depending if you had the movie channels or not. And then it was the funnest part going into Blockbuster or Hollywood,
Yeah.
local movie rental place, and seeing what was there. And it was like there was one summer I remember I would go and like I went to the horror section. I was like, all right, I'm gonna start renting these each was everyone on the shelf, and that's what I did. It was just really cool to just be experience these things that I may not watch with my dad, even though we watched a lot of horror movies. And I started doing that with everything I could.
You ever like slip in a movie that you're not supposed to watch, like with your parents? Like I'd slip in like a
Heavy
really
metal?
raunchy horror movie under like Dumb and Dumber. Be like, hey Dad, I want to get these movies, and he wouldn't even be paying attention. Be like, all right, cool, and just rent them.
So my dad. Go ahead, Matt. I'll say it.
And
I
Vince, he'd
never
be
done
like,
that.
then sometimes he'd be like, wait a minute, what's this NC-17 sticker here? I don't think you should be watching this.
No, I never did anything like that. Holy
Well,
crap!
these weren't Matt. These weren't porn. You gotta remember now.
Yeah, no,
This is
not
just
back
like
then.
these are movies that showed some like boobs or something.
Yeah, but the TV
So
was in the living room
Okay,
or the
so
family room.
and
Like,
that is a big difference too. So like I had a VHS player and a TV in my own room.
I did too.
So that explains it. If you only had one TV, one VCR in the house, and it was in the living room.
we had two TVs. One was in the living room, and the other was in the family room.
Oh, okay. So that makes it even worse because it's
Like the rooms are basically connected by the kitchen. You
oh
know what I
wow,
mean?
yeah.
You didn't have a TV at all in your room?
I had a black and white TV with an antenna.
Yeah.
I'd watch Fox. I'd watch some Married with Children or whatever.
See, I mean, I know that mine. Listen, my TV probably wasn't great. I'm sure I just had one of the hand-me-downs that they had, like that they didn't really use
Exactly.
anymore. I kind of got passed down. I know it wasn't black and white though, but
See, like in our family room, is where that's where my Nintendo was. It was a floor model wooden TV.
I remember those.
Of course, how could you
Yeah,
forget?
yeah, exactly. Those things are heavy to move. Come on, get over here. Help me with this, son. Oh man,
Can we disassemble some of it?
yeah. Or you become the remote. All right, go change the channel.
Oh yeah, I had a rotary dial.
Yeah.
well, listen, I had the dual. I had like two different VCRs hooked up that I probably found from like the thrift store, so that I could copy movies. And I remember sometimes the VHS would have like copyright protection on it.
Mm-hmm.
So like you try to copy it and you just get a black screen, it wouldn't work.
Oh my god, I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
They started getting slick with people making copies of movies. So at a certain point, they started putting that on them all.
Well, you could get around it. I think if you changed the speed at which you were recording, instead of like what was it, slow play, long play, kind of
Dude,
thing.
I really gotta say, so this is gonna be controversial, but you know me, Vince. If I'm anything, I'm gonna just tell it like it is,
No, go ahead, man.
and I'm gonna be controversial if I need to be. But I think one of the I think the point where movies started, like action movies started to take a downward turn
Mhm.
is when like you'd see, and I know a lot of people are gonna like some of these movies, but like when you would see like 100 copies of like The Rock or Con Air, not even that bad of movies, but like when you started getting into like that Bruckheimer, that Michael Bay period, is I really think when you started to homogenize just kind of crap old action movies, like you started to lose, and even like once Schwarzenegger got to like I joke about this all the time, but like by the time like Schwarzenegger got to like Eraser, it was pretty much over for his movies too. They just weren't good anymore. And he was like coming up with third rate taglines like, killing a alligator and saying your luggage.
Your
It's
luggage.
just like, you know, just when they were felt completely out of ideas. So I just kind of hated where when it turned into that, just like 100 copies of like some crap blockbuster on the wall
Well, and
in Blockbuster Video.
Hey,
So I don't know.
they still make us laugh. They're dad jokes.
no,
There's a
exactly.
there's a
They're so
point
good, man.
there's a point where I just think the quality of
The
action
corniness,
movies kind of
the
took a
corniness,
downturn.
how corny it is makes it funnier.
And
So,
that's like right about the time we had like Armageddon and like all these other disaster movies coming out. Like Twister was okay. I mean, some of these movies were okay, but it started to be kind of like the brain dead movies were coming out, and effects for effects' sake.
well,
So
a lot of it has to do too with the fact that at a certain point, films took off, and you had these movies that were just blockbusters. And there was a period of time where it was just blockbuster after blockbuster after
yeah,
blockbuster, and some of them were good, some of them were okay. Then there was some that were, they just didn't appeal to us. I mean, you think about like whenever My Big Fat Greek Wedding came out, I was like, I don't care about this movie. Why did this win an Academy Award when there's this other better sci-fi action movie that has better characters, better story, but it's not a comedy? I guess I don't know. Does it make any sense to me? Um,
right.
so yeah, and I was trying to look up to see because what was it? He did trying to find out what came after Eraser or what. So well, because like so you had Eraser, right? And I
End of
enjoyed that
Days.
movie. I
End of
loved
Days sucked.
I loved End of Days because it was the first movie that we had that where Arnold Schwarzenegger played a normal guy dealing with normal shit. Um, I really liked Sixth Day also with the clones. Um, but then after that, it was like
Yeah.
you got Collateral Damage, which was a decent movie. Then Rise of Terminators, Terminator 3, Rise of Terminators, Rise of the
Okay,
Machines,
look,
which is
if it
horrible.
was anybody else, Vince, if it was anybody else, maybe I wouldn't judge him that harsh. But it's Schwarzenegger. This is the top tier guy of all time, the best action star of all time, in my opinion. I mean, no question with Stallone. Stallone's great too, but he can't touch Arnold. Arnold is in a league of the best of the
Well,
best.
because I would
So
say the same thing with like I didn't like Junior at all. I mean, it wasn't my thing.
yeah,
But
that was trash.
Twins was great.
Yeah, Twins was good.
Mm-hmm.
See, for me, one of his last was literally last action hero was one of his last great ones.
Oh, it was a great one.
It was a fantastic one. We were just talking about in the last episode, or 2 episodes ago.
I love that movie.
Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to have that ticket, man. It's been ever since I've seen that movie. I've always wanted that ticket so I could just jump
You
into
know,
something.
like
What movie
Total
would you
Total
go into?
Recall. Total Recall's a little bit underrated. Because we all go like Terminator's the best. You know, I think Total Recall was awesome for what it was.
I,
Yeah, it
I
did get a
know
remake, but
I know what movie Ryan would go into. It would be Debbie something Dallas.
so yeah,
No, I think it would be Showgirls.
Showgirls.
striptease.
Um, if okay,
Porkies.
I've already talked about what I would do if I had the ticket. I would jump into either the movie The Guyver to get the Guyver unit because I want some kind of thing that I could become a superhero, and that's what I'd come back to this real world and do.
Dude, what was the channel that always was playing in the Guyver all the time? Was it like Sci-Fi Channel or was it like HBO? Something was playing the Guyver all the time on cable, and I
I
remember that.
I don't know if it
It's
was HBO. It might have been Sci-Fi, but I don't remember because that it might have been too gory for Sci-Fi because that movie was
Dude,
done by Roger Corman's production company.
there was a time when the Sci-Fi Channel was like the shit in the '90s. You remember that?
Hmm.
Like they just had great programming on the Sci-Fi Channel.
It was a great place to catch like really cool anime movies back like in the I mean mid to late
yeah.
'90s.
I always loved watching the TNT stuff too.
Hmm. But no. So if there was a movie I could jump into, geez, I had to think about that. Like
I know, right?
maybe The Fifth Element. I kind of like that world. I just but usually my stuff is like I want to do something that I could help somebody with. So I either
This is
want
gonna
to.
sound crazy, but like the worlds that I like, just because I like his vision,
Hmm.
is some of the Kubrick movies. Like I wouldn't want to live with some of these characters, but I love like the set designs of like the house and Clockwork Orange, like his crazy room, or like the crazy record store he walks through in Clockwork Orange,
Okay.
or like the desolate like screwed up like city where everything's kind of beaten down and busted. Or maybe like a set like Blade Runner. I'd like to kind of live in that kind of world, like a futuristic Tokyo. Or I love The Shining, man. I love that hotel. That hotel is so freaking cool. The carpet, the rooms, the decor. I like just Kubrick's vision. Even Eyes Wide Shut. I just love that guy. That guy can make a movie set like no other. Like in its own, it feels like its own world. His
Right.
movies.
Second,
You,
I got a question here. So, in The Shining, that hotel, is that a real
yes,
place?
that's a real hotel.
Where
Yep.
is New
Colo-
Zealand or something?
it's in Colorado.
Colorado?
Hmm. My dad's been there. Yeah, actually, I have photos of it.
Is
I'm
it
gonna grab them from my dad. He'll take a picture. I'll either put them in the episode at the end, or I'll put them on our Discord.
so it's like a museum or what?
No, no, it's a real hotel you can go stay at.
It's got the same carpet in it still.
I don't think so,
Um,
but the same layout that they used
Yeah.
for the film, and it is haunted too, uh, but not like haunted like The Shining haunted.
right.
Yeah,
It's a bit unrealistic,
yeah.
I think.
Um, but no, there's quite a few places that are like that are show up in films. But like for me, I don't know. I don't necessarily want to go to a place that like I like the set designs. But for me, I want to if I could live in the world, like take my family there, and like not have to worry about anything. It's something better than what I got here. I probably would jump in there. But then I have to worry about like I have no ID for this world, no social security. I just popped out of nowhere. You know, I'm gonna get popped.
You gotta do that shit under the table.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna take money with me, and it's not gonna work. There's like, what is this Monopoly money?
I really like when I see a movie and it's like gritty, like '70s New York, or like just like you just it just looks like you're gonna get killed, and it's like why would I want to live in that? No, but I like the look of it.
Oh
I
yeah,
like
yeah,
the look
definitely.
of like the look of like '70s '80s like either LA or New York is so much cooler than kind of how it is now. Because now it's just then it was like rough, gritty, bohemian, artsy.
Hmm.
Now it's like if you went to like Manhattan, it's like Bank of America's and Starbucks. Like that's not cool. That sucks. Like the city was actually an interesting place back then.
You think about like New York, like Times Square. It was a bunch of like porn theaters and things like that. It was like almost like a red light district back in the day.
Yeah.
Now it's like it's the place to be with all the lights and the big giant monitors and
Now
everything.
they put like freaking like Ruby Tuesdays in there. Like, dude, you go to any like crapola small town and get a Ruby Tuesdays. Don't put it in New York. Don't put it in Manhattan where space is limited. And like they like the biggest joke to me is like they put like Sabaros pizzas in Manhattan.
Hmm.
Really? Like Manhattan is known for some of the best pizza places
It's
that
like
like were there for generations, and you're gonna put a Sabaros?
That's what you find at your shopping mall, man.
Exactly.
Well, hey, maybe it's the water because remember they say the pizza's the best in New York because of the water. So maybe that pizza tastes even better.
I didn't know that.
I don't believe it. You know, and I think it's the institutions. Like it's like their ovens. It's like the quality of the cheese they're using. It's the bread. It's the
Well,
you know what I mean. It's the traditional.
well,
It's their tomato sauce has been passed down. That recipe. I think it's
a
like
New
all
York
those things.
a New York pizza is typically thin, right?
Typically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love a thin crust pizza myself.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And they use the water for making the sauce. They may use the water for making the crust. You know, so
It's like it's like thin. It's pretty flat. It's a very long slice, very long triangle of a slice. You know what I mean? It's never like pan
Yeah,
pizza. It's never thick. It's
yeah,
never.
we
that's
see
not
Ninja
Chicago.
Turtle.
Yeah,
You get the fresh mozzarella.
Chicago's like a freaking lasagna.
yeah, it is. Cheese meat, cheese meat, cheese meat. Bowl of bread.
Dude. Speaking of pizza, I even missed that. Dude, I long for like the animatronic Showbiz Pizza Chuck E. Cheese shows. Those like made an impression on my brain. Like just walking into a Chuck E. Cheese, smelling the pizza, seeing the arcade games, and like watching like that animatronic band perform.
So
Like blew my mind. I was like, what is this? I'm like half like horrified as a kid and like half like this is phenomenal. I want to like hug these characters. You know what I mean? Kind of that and that's like
Oh,
the story of my life, like loving horror because it like half horrifies me and half fascinates me. So, you know, those
I never went
animatronic
to
things are amazing.
I never went to a Chuck E. Cheese until I was like 29,
oh
28.
really? Oh wow. No, we went to Chuck E. Cheese there on occasion. We went to Showbiz Pizza back when it was like that all
Yeah.
the time, and then Peter Piper's Pizza. But a lot of times it was just to go to the arcades. You know, because it would be like they would those places would have the exclusive arcades that wouldn't have shown up in like for us it would have been like Super Track or Tilt in the malls.
Yeah, but it's just like stupid games you win tickets from, right?
No, 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 no. Actually, full on arcades. Because like the first time I ever played the Simpsons arcade was at a Chuck E. Cheese.
Wow. No,
Okay. But I wanted to throw something in that I thought would be nice to kind of cap this, right?
Okay.
All these nostalgic memories. Okay, name something that's like name one or two things that are like really close to your heart, like that just warms your heart. The thought of like for me it's two people related to these memories. One is, my dad would sneak me into like rated R movies and like just the trip of being with him, like making my dad was like my like Superman, like I would like ride in his car, we'd be like rocking like some Billy Joel. He always had like some Billy Joel and there's our Beatles be playing, and he'd sneak me into some rated R movie, and I was just loving it. And the other most important person of my childhood would have been my grandmother because we had a tradition where she would take me to the local KB toy store and have me either pick out a toy or sometimes on a special occasion an NES game. And then she'd take me to Friendlies. And Friendlies is a place where you get like a hot dog or a burger, kind of like a greasy food place, and then get this amazing sundae. Get like a Reese's peanut butter cup sundae to top it off. So those are my two like warm my hearts, warms my heart moments of my childhood. I'd like to know your guys to kind of wrap this whole
Yeah, the
cake up.
nostalgia trip down to memory lane.
Yeah.
Man, I'll let you go because I got a two, which are very similar to Ryan, but for
I don't think I even have one. I don't. No, I can't think of anything.
well, here, let me do mine then, and then if you can think of something, just so for me, yes, my dad's always going to be my number one hero. He's going to be the that person that I grew up with because I mean, he raised me and my sister. He was the one that took care of us when my parents divorced. Um, but we'd watch everything together. Horror movies. We'd go to Super Track or arcades all the time. We would go hunting for toys or comics or rent video games. So one of my fondest memories that I have with him is whenever the TMNT arcade game came out. We were sitting over there at um, Southeastern High School, which is the high school I went to later on. But there used to be a comic book shop over there that my Uncle Colin, who's on the podcast with us, uh, used to work at, called Third Planet, and this was like their second store. Well, we're there. We found out that the Turtle Arcade came out, and we're like, we got to go play this. So it was me, my dad, Colin, and our buddy Paul, my dad's buddy Paul. And we drove over to Super Track. My sister was off running around playing whatever game she wanted to play, and we just sat there and played Turtles until we beat it. Just it was the thing that we did, and I remember us getting into
The arcade, the
yeah,
first arcade.
the first arcade.
Damn.
Yeah, the one that's sitting right there, that's on your back beside you. Well, remember, games were only a quarter back then, man. So like you put $20 in. So the memory though is that we went to do this, and we got to a point where I think it's just after you crash the van and you're fighting the boss at that stage, and they all died except for me. So I'm sitting there beating up the boss until they get back with the quarters so they could jump back in, and we just continued on the fight till we beat the game. So of course I was playing Michelangelo. The other memory I have that I would say is for a person that I'm very fond of and I miss very much is my grandmother, just as much as Ryan. So
Wow.
she was there for us when my dad was taking care of us. So she was always there when we needed her. She was a big part of our life growing up, and she would take me and my sister to like Montgomery Wards to. There was a place called Wieners, which they had different clothes. It's basically like an equivalent to Ross these days. But they'd have toys and things. But my grandma would take us to like Toys R Us or Best Buy to hey, you want to pick something up? We'll get something. Well, there was one trip we went, and it was right after, right around the time the Transformers '86 movie came out. So I'm 5 years old, possibly at that time. My grandmother, we were over at my grandmother's. I was looking at the Toys R Us ad, and I saw the GI Joe. I think it was the Bunker set or whatever, um, and it was on sale for like $19. And my sister saw something she wants, so she took us over there to go pick out a toy. Of course, they were sold out of it, so I got the Cup toy from the movie from Transformers, and then we went to had Burger King. And then by the time I got home, I was playing with the toy. I went with my mom to go do laundry because we lived in an apartment that had an outside laundry mat, and I left my figure there. Then when my dad came home, he's like, "Where's your Cup figure you got?" We left it. Oh no! So we ran over. It was gone. So it's like I just have this fond memory of being able to my grandmother doing these things for us. Such a warm time. How things were like that back then. So you don't got nothing.
It
I
could
don't
even
have
be
anything like that.
Matt. It could
Anything
even be a
remotely like
birthday
that.
party. Matt, it could even be a birthday party you had. It could even be like a Christmas you had where you got a toy you really wanted. It could be,
I
you
don't
know
have
what I mean?
anything like that. No, I don't have anything like that.
Do you have it's like where you rented a game that you really wanted and like, had a great time playing it one weekend with some friends?
Um, Not really. We would play a lot of Mortal Kombat, but we didn't rent it. One of my friends owned it, so we just would go to his house and play it. But
When your grandparents came over, Matt, they didn't kind of spoil you a little bit, give you some money.
my grandparents didn't live anywhere near me.
Okay.
Okay.
Like hours and hours and hours away. So I don't have that kind of stuff so much.
Okay. Well, I only assumed you might because you have all these other nostalgic memories, of toy lines you had and that you even talk about. That's why you've got some of these again as you're older.
Right. Right. Like
I
I
mean,
don't.
well,
I
what's
don't
the
remember
story
so-
with What's the story with how you got your first NES, Matt, or like your Super Nintendo, or when did you get those? You know, like that's not
Well,
part of something you remember.
I never had an NES.
Okay.
We had a Master System.
Okay.
Uh,
What was the story about how you got your Master System? Was it like a
it
birthday or
wasn't
Christmas?
mine. It wasn't mine. It was my dad's. But I got the Super
Okay.
Nintendo, and that was mine. You know,
Okay.
that was a Christmas present that I remember. Of course, playing the hell out of some Mario World. So that is a good memory.
Well, yeah. So, did you do the whole thing of like, instead of like the kid going, "A Nintendo 64, it's a Super Nintendo"?
I said it's a SNES. A SNES.
Huh.
Your parents are all
No,
like, "SNES? That sounds like snooze. That's what we want to do when you woke us up this early in the morning to open up Christmas presents."
yeah, ain't no shit there, man. I used to get up early as hell when I was a kid.
My son's doing it to me every year now. It's just like, I'll stay up, we'll do their thing, and then we'll go to bed finally, and he's like, it's like 6 in the morning. Hey, he's came.
Well, I say it all the time, but I feel sorry for these kids today because they didn't have it as good as we had it.
I try to make his Christmas special. I try to. I try to keep that magic
Oh
alive.
yeah, and I mean you can if you put the effort in, but they don't have it like we had it. We had the best shows. It's not even open for
Well,
debate. We had the best
plus,
movie, the best shows, the best toys.
they don't have to just make shit up with their toys. They got everything at their fingertips.
Hmm. But that's one of the joys of being a parent is being able to show them that. I know that.
Listen. Even in the '90s, like the worst thing we had going was what the president did with an intern. It was simpler times.
Well, I didn't have any problems back then. I was living rent free.
Yeah. Oh shit! I was playing Super Nintendo or PlayStation
Our
at the time.
biggest problem was we were scared of Y2K.
I wasn't. We didn't have no damn computer.
That does put a perspective on things. We're all worried about Y2K. Matt's here is like, what's Y2K? Is that like a new drink or something?
What the hell is AOL?
What are these discs I get in the mail? They look like coasters.
Dude, I remember in the early 2000s, we would get this free internet service provider. It was called Juno.
Oh yeah, Yep.
You just have a banner on your screen. You could move it to where, but you could still use the damn internet. So
Well,
pay
I
for
hope that all that came out good on the audio and everything in the video because I feel like what we did there was a nice adrenaline shot of 80s 90s nostalgia and the reasons it was a great couple of decades and the reason we still remember it and love it to this day. I really think we captured a nice adrenaline shot in that.
Yeah, definitely.
it.
So, I guess to go ahead and wrap this up, do you guys have, or does Matt or Ryan, do you guys have someone you want to shout out this episode?
Uh,
Someone in our YouTube community that I haven't shouted out yet that you want to get a recognized in there for somebody.
oh, that you haven't shouted out. Mm.
So,
I don't think I've shouted out Hector the Game Collector.
there you go.
Um, Ooh, I mean, I don't know who all
And
you'd
let me let
shout.
me let me let me give you the why though. Let me give you the why because it doesn't mean anything if I give somebody a shout out. That's not a good shout out. Uh, you guys need to check out Hector the Game Collector's YouTube channel because not only is he a good friend, but he does informative videos on whether he's doing mods on like Game Boy games. Whether he's doing mods on systems. He has a lot of different consoles. He also live streams games. Very fun to watch. I mean, he's an up and coming channel. I think he's right around the 200 sub range.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, go check the guy out. He's a good guy, and he makes good content. Period.
All right, I'll give a shout out to somebody that none of you even know.
Okay, there you go.
It's Da Drunk Gamer. DA Drunk Gamer. I'm gonna shout him out.
What
You
is he
got to
doing?
do the why, Matt. You got to do
Yeah,
the
do the
why
why.
now.
Why should
Well,
people check him out?
he live streams gaming all the time. He does some
Mhm.
cool stuff. He's a funny guy. He's nice. Very accepting of new people, of course. So that's why
Okay,
he's. I like his personality.
I can dig that. All right, so we
He's
got two.
he's pretty chill, you know.
So I'll add one more. So we'll make this a trifecta of shout outs this episode. So, uh, Wackeroni, he makes really good reviews on Marvel movies and other things. He's an up and coming comedian. He's doing his best. Uh, he's really trying. He's actually a really good artist, even though he says he's not.
He's
But you,
lazy about
he's lazy
it.
about it. But you should check him out. He's a really good dude. He needs the support. Um, but all right, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this trip down nostalgia lane. I know we were going to talk about some YouTube and some other things. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. Um,
It's a
but
ramble, man. We could talk all day long,
yeah, we
all night
could.
long.
The stuff we talked about was better than YouTube stuff.
Well, true, true. I mean, I'd like to have a debate about the possibilities of how we can make this channel. I mean, not channel, but this platform better as a whole. Even just us doing our whole YouTube Mafia thing and what that can bring. But we hope you all have a great one. Catch you later.
Peace.
Peace out.